All right, so we have an amazing guest today, and we're in a studio. It's not just a virtual podcast today for this episode. And
humans.
So, yeah, human interaction. This weird thing. So, I have a very special guest. Mr. Brian Luebben, the founder of Action Academy. But there's so much more behind this man, and just all of the amazing things that he's doing. So this episode is going to be absolutely amazing. So Brian, why don't you, well, first of all, thank you for being here. And why don't you share with everyone kind of your story and how you've came to be from like working, in the corporate world that you were in to transitioning to entrepreneur and growing all of the things that you're doing, investing in these companies and real estate. I mean, there's lots to unpack here, but how did this all happen?
Yeah, so we'll start off with a question or a statement which has fundamentally changed my life. And that is that the quality of your life is in direct correlation to the quality of questions that you ask and answer. So for me, a question that I asked myself was, how do I replace a six-figure salary and a six-figure income in corporate America to do what I want, when I want, with who I want, my own thing, essentially. And it's a different answer than what most of the financial freedom podcasts and books that we've read over the last 15 years teach and give you a roadmap for. Because the roadmap that we got before was, okay, cool, you buy a house a year, a rental property a year, and then eventually you're going to have, $200 of cash flow per month at a time to be able to hit, quote unquote, financial freedom. And so that's what I did in the very beginning is I was a B2B sales rep. I was number 8 out of 5,079 sales reps in the country in my position. And so I was like the corporate guy until I realized that that was not the path that I wanted to continue. We can go into this podcast about the benefits of staying in a job versus building your own thing. Yeah. Because there's pros and cons to each. But if anyone's listening to this podcast, it means that they've made a decision. They've drawn a line in the sand and they're saying, no more. I want to build my own thing and I want to scale this freaking thing. Right. Yeah. So I started in single family real estate, quickly realized that was going to take forever and a half for me to hit financial freedom. So then I went into buying and building companies. So I built a few companies from scratch. Action Academy is my education and media company. So our whole thing there is we teach people how to buy commercial real estate and small businesses. And that in and of itself has become a 7-figure business with we pay $1 million in payroll to our coaches, our mentors, and our staff who you know all of them. You've came and keynoted at one of our events. Got over 400 members across the country. And then alongside that, I'm doing experiential hospitality. I'm about to start entering that space. And then I also buy service companies as well. So by the time that this airs, I should be at 5 or 6 companies that we own now. That's amazing. So what people care about, right, is like you hear all the flash and everything. But I went from going from $60,000 a year to $250,000 a year in 3 years, from like 2019 to like 2022 in corporate. And from 2022 to 2025, we now do millions of dollars a year and we're taking home millions of dollars a year. So it's just like a night and day difference based off of what problems that you're attempting to solve. Yeah,
dude, man. Like just within the last, 5-6 years, like massive transition from $60K a year to then $250,000 a year working corporate, realizing it's not, what it was all cracked out to be from, what you thought, and to taking massive action, starting companies, growing companies, scaling, multiple companies, and now just all of these different things. And so there's probably people listening and they're like, what the heck? Like, I've been trying to scale my business and one business and it's been, it's been a slog and they're just like still trying to push. And, there's a lot of people that listen to the Scale with Pros podcast and they're like in the 6-figure range or trying to go up to 7 figures, or maybe they're right at 7 figures trying to get to multiple. What are the things that you've uncovered that were helpful for you to go from once you're at 6 figures to past the 7-figure mark? Because it's only, I think the statistic is it's like 7% of businesses in America make it to $1 million or more a year. So it's like most businesses just never make it there. So what do you think like those key things were that helped you get to that first, million plus a year?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways that we can answer this. So we can start like kind of at a high level, like air game, and then we can go ground game and super tactical. Yeah. So for the air game, I'll say saying yes gets you to your first million, but saying no takes you beyond it. So what does that mean?
Unpack that.
Yeah, what does that mean? So, and there's an important caveat to what I'm about to say for people that are applying this, because what gets you here is not going to take you there sometimes. So this is a switch that you have to flip eventually. But in the very beginning, you have to be ruthless with your yeses. You have to say yes to everything, everyone, because the reason that you're not at $1 million a year is marketing. That's it. People don't know you exist.
Yep.
Like that is the singular constraint that you must solve is you are simply not talking enough about your product, your service, your business, period. Like to get to $1 million. Like I got to $1 million with like one employee a year.
Yeah.
Like, so it's just talking about your stuff. So I was saying yes to everything, everyone. So podcasts to go on, coffee dates, you know, like I'm saying yes to every single opportunity. And I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to like kind of spray and pray and figure things out along as I go. And then you reach a certain point too. For us, it was about like when we hit like kind of that 2 million, 2.4 million a year, where I was like, okay, my yeses have now become more expensive.
Yeah.
And so people don't respect the price of a yes. And I think that that's a major problem because your attention is actually your most valuable asset. Your attention is your most valuable currency. So one answer to that, the tactical answer could be you're not marketing enough. That's the main, it's the main gap between 6 and 7 figures. But I would say the ultimate gap between 6 and 7 figures is your attention, because people hear that millionaires have 7 streams of income and they're trying to build 7 streams of income. So what people do is they have 7 strings of like, you know, like $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 here and there, scattered all over the place.
Yeah.
They need to focus on one thing.
It's like having 7 faucets on that are just like dripping.
You have not earned the right to diversify.
Yeah.
We hear diversification and we hear rich people talking about diversification all the time. But that's not what gets you rich. Concentration is what gets you rich. Diversification is what keeps you rich. So the thing that I say to people that are like, because I've helped people build 6-figure companies from scratch, and now I'm helping them scale to 7 figures right now. And the biggest thing that I could tell them is it's going to get boring, and that's how you know it's working.
Yeah.
Shut up, stop looking at everything else, focus, like do the thing, right? And then once you hit 7, and you hit the 7 figures, you hit your first $1 million a year, then that opens up a whole new conversation of, okay, cool. Now I've maximized the output that I can put into this business to where I work more hours, I get more pay, right? And you reach a point where that caps out.
Yes.
And then that's the most difficult part, the messy middle, which is why like what I'm in right now is kind of going from that 2 to 10 range, which is what like I hired you and your team, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But then that's the point where you're like, okay, cool, now I have to scale through other people. So to wrap all of this up with a bow, the 2 things that are preventing you from that 7 figures right now for the 6-figure business owner that's listening is number 1, your focus. You need to lock in. You need to ignore all the other distractions. You need to focus on your one thing. What is the one thing that you can do whereby doing it eliminates the need or necessity for any other things, right? And the number 2 is you're not marketing enough. You're not saying yes enough to opportunities to get your product out in front of your target customer.
I think, you know, on your point on that, it's like too many people focus, or they aren't focused. And I think it's like other podcasts and people see these like clips of reels where they do, it is millionaires talking about, multiple streams of income, and they have multiple companies, or they're going to listen to this and they're like, well, Brian has multiple companies, or they know I have multiple companies. So they're like, just want to start doing that. But like the way that you got to your success, the way that I got to my success was like one thing worked, and that was what was scaled. And then that opened up to be able to build the teams to manage that. And then I could do other things. And it's like, I think people get too caught up in like thinking that they're going to be able to do multiple at the same time, especially below 7 figures. It's like, you're just like pushing 4 or 5 different, boulders up a muddy hill. It's like, you just keep getting stuck.
Yeah. Hey, Cody, would you like to hear the ultimate wealth building formula?
What's that?
Because I have one. So I had this mentor, $100 million guy.
Yeah.
And he taught me this, and it's a story so people can understand this. And if you guys take one thing away from this podcast or this video, take this away. He told me this story about how wealth works, because I didn't understand. Most people don't understand how wealth works. But once he explained it to me, just like you said, everything clicked for me, and I immediately leapt into action and implemented what he taught me. And now over 4 years, it's made me millions and millions and millions of dollars in equity, cash flow, and profit take home. And the framework is called Plant Trees, Manage Orchards. So in the beginning, you have to view every single investment that you make and every single business that you start as like a tree. It's like a seed that you're planting into soil. So you want to make sure that the soil is fertile, that it's got enough water, that it's moisturized, and you open up the soil, you put the seed in, and you're like, okay, let's go. Like, I'm going to grow something here. So think about your rental properties, think about stock market, think about side hustles, think about businesses that you're starting or buying, right? Yep. And so each one of those seeds will sprout into a sapling. Now, the sapling, you must protect the sapling from all these conditions that are going to uproot the sapling. So for this, it'd be economic conditions, bad actors, bad partnerships, the economy just financial situations. But you need to pay attention to the sapling and protect it.
Yep.
And then eventually, the tree will grow strong enough on its own that where it begins to bear fruit. And then that's profit, right? And you could take the apples from the tree, you could put them in the basket, and then that's fruit that you can start using as currency to have other people come. And as soon as this tree is strong enough to stand on its own, you hire somebody else to come manage the orchard, because that's when you can go plant the next seed. So like you just said, that is how wealth works. And even when I didn't have a rental property, I said, okay, that is how I must do it. So now from that point, every single business and every single investment that I do, I start it as the seed, I would protect it as the sapling, I wait until it bears fruit, which in this case, to your example, in the context that you were saying, is you have a business that's operating without you.
Yep.
You have marketing without you, you have sales without you, you have fulfillment without you, and you have renewal and retention without you.
Yep.
That is a fruit-bearing tree where now you can take your attention, which again is the most valuable currency that you own, the most valuable asset that you own, and now you can go plant other seeds. But now the difference is, again, just like your yeses become more expensive, your seeds become more valuable. And so now if I plant a seed, it's got to be like a $10 million seed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not even going to plant it.
Super interesting. It's like the layers of like the value of like the seed that you do choose to plant, you know, as you're continuing to scale. I like that example because it's like it's a good visual of planting the seed, and it's like if you were trying to plant like 10 different seeds at the same time and you only have so much water and so much, you know, to nutrients to give them,
they're going to get destroyed. Like the freaking gophers are going to come dig up your cash flow, dude.
You're going to be over here like protecting
your
one.
short-term rental is cooked.
Yeah.
But no, it's such an important thing. It's sequential. Like success is sequential. So it's just like another quote that, because everything that I say for people that are listening, I speak in quotes, I speak in stories because they're memorable and that people can take these business principles that we're saying, they could apply it and they could remember it like that.
Yep.
So a coach told me something that just is the worst thing for us entrepreneurs to hear, because we're type A heat-seeking missiles, right? We got to go, go, go. And he said, gradually, comma, then suddenly.
Wow.
Gradually, then suddenly. And so what that means is, what we just talked about sounds good in practice. Plant seeds, manage orchards. Plant trees, manage orchards.
Yep.
And people are saying, yeah, I'm going to do what the $100 million guy said in the Brian guy on the podcast. But then they're going to go do it, and they realize that's a decades-long game.
Yeah.
And they're going to get bored. And they're going to go start slinging seeds.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to do that. So gradually, then suddenly means that, and you're a product of this, is you just wait and you wait and you wait and you execute the game plan. And then all of a sudden, one day, it compounds overnight, and then you're the overnight success 10 years in the making, right? But it's just small micro deposits day in, day out. That's why another quote that I love is be patient with your results and patient with your execution.
That's a good one. I think that, what was that, Gary Vee or you know, I don't know, maybe he got it from somewhere else, but I really like that one because it's like, it's really true where it's like you have to be patient with the outcomes that you're looking for, but you have to be impatient with the actions that you take on the way there. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't want to hear. And it's like, because it's not sexy and it's not boring, because it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next week. The reality of it, for like as businesses continue to scale, as it is boring. You're just like, you're managing numbers on the spreadsheets, then you're managing people and their emotions and like their performance. And it's like just the management of those things. You know, it's interesting because as you know, I have a residential cleaning company. My partner's at Perfect Clean. You know, we were having a conversation a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about, they're like, oh, should we start changing this or changing that, you know, this thing? And it's like, what we need to do is just chop wood, carry water. Like, we just need to do the same thing that we're doing right now, because we're experiencing like 10 to 15% growth every single month since January this year. So it's like we're growing, and they're like, well, what else should we do? It's like, make sure we could just sustain the growth that we're currently having month over month. And if we do just that, our business is going to be, you know, we're at a couple $100,000 a month at the beginning of this year. And it's like, we'll be close to $500,000 a month by the end of this year. If we can just make sure the train doesn't fall off the tracks by the end of this year, like that's where we're headed. And I think sometimes when things are just like going smooth and it's just like it's there's not chaos. We like think we need to go just like light something on fire. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, there's this like entrepreneurial tendency, but like a lot of people I've worked with, or, you know, in businesses I've been in, when things start humming, people like just start like poking at different things. And it's like, we don't need to keep poking. Like, let's just do what's working and just keep it going, you know?
It's because we're addicted to dopamine. Yeah. We're addicted to the rush. We're addicted. That's entrepreneurship, man. Yeah. And it's something that I just had to work on myself, because as I went from being an employee, being told where to be, what to do, when to do it, to now having more money than I need to be completely financially free and do what I want, I am more anxious. I'm more keyed up. I'm more what's going on all the time, because what you do is you get so addicted to that feeling of like the fight or flight, the adrenaline response. Yeah. And so to your point, what happens is you throw this chaos grenade into your business, and there are people that are 7 figures, 8 figures that still do the same stuff. Yeah. Your business is working because, dude, spoiler alert, all business, like drawn out to its ultimate conclusion, is the same stuff. Yeah. So what people don't get is, and like, it's the same thing that I execute in our business, where it's just like sales is sales, marketing is marketing, fulfillment is fulfillment. The only thing that changes at scale is who does what and at what degree, like what volume. Yeah. Period. So like picking up the phone and doing a cold call, if it's you in your freaking parking lot at your office, like before you're about to go to work, and you're calling, 20 people to wholesale a house, it's the same action that somebody's doing $20 million a year wholesaling is. It's just they have somebody else that they're paying to pick up the phone. Yeah. But people think that these secret entrepreneurs, like, they think Hormozy's up in a castle or something. Yeah. Like, just like, oh, I know things that you don't know. Yeah. No, it's just they're ruthless with their execution. Yeah. Dude, it's just the simple scales, fancy fails.
Absolutely. I love Hormozy's stuff. Because he keeps stuff so simple, and he's just like, and the math problem stuff, because I nerd out heavily on like a lot of the math of business, and it's just like all the business problems, especially when it comes to like marketing, sales, like finance. It's just math problems. It's like, are the numbers adding up, or are they not adding up? And I think that's one of my favorite things about listening to Hormozy, is just the simplicity that he keeps things in. It's just like, and then just go do that, and then do it for 5 years, and shut up about how long it's taking.
You want to know a good litmus test to tell if somebody actually knows their shit or not? If they overcomplicate it. If all they're saying is like the most complex, like crazy advanced algorithmic strategy, they don't know what they're talking about. Like simple is harder than complex. But if you truly understand something to its core, you can be able to explain it simply. Yeah. And if you can only explain it in a complex way, you don't truly understand it. So it's like the majority of your time. So for people that are, again, like in the info space, for example, we try our best to do the opposite of what most people do. What most people do in the info space and the education space online is they try to make things, oh, this is our 5-step proprietary secret sauce extravaganza. Like, you come over here, we're going to teach you the formulaic way, and they throw all these big words. I'm like, no, dude. Like, our entire pitch is, hey, you can figure this out on your own. The internet exists. We're just going to help you do it faster. Yeah. Period. Like, you're just buying your time back. We have people that have just done it already, and you can just hitch your wagon to theirs, right? It's just my favorite. Simple skills, fancy fails. The more fancy and the more complex someone is on the phone with me, I'm like, you're not my person. But give me somebody that can drop those like isms on me and those quotes and those stories, like my friend David, the $100 million guy with the plant trees, manage orchards. I'm like, you really grasp this. And I took that from Naval too, Ravikant. He's like, you have to truly understand is to simplify.
I love that. It's interesting, as you were talking about that, I was thinking about, sometimes like you go to events or like networking things, and you talk to people and you try to like understand, like, me, like I like data and stuff. So like I'll like start digging into, I'm like, okay, like I get excited when someone tells me they're, like I was at an event the last couple of days, and like there was an individual there that I met, and then I was like really excited to hear about what he was doing. And I was like, oh, well, because he was doing, info, he has an info business. And, so I was asking him, I'm like, oh, so like, what are the numbers? Like, what's the ascension? Like, what's your cost per lead? What's the this and what's the this? And then he was just like looking at me like deer in headlights, and he's like, I don't have any of that. And I'm like,
You're not a business owner.
I'm like, I don't understand. Like, if you don't know, like, not knowing those things, it's like, that's like, I don't know, it's like my navigation system to like know which way to go. If I don't have like my scorecard or like my numbers, I don't know what decisions to make. And like, I live in anxiety if I don't have my numbers.
But that's what anxiety is. Anxiety is too much optionality, and depression is zero optionality, right? So it's like the high end of the spectrum, the low end of the spectrum. It's people that are depressed feel like they've got no options.
Yeah.
They're like, what do I do? And then people with anxiety is like, oh my God, I've got 9 million things to do today. What do I do?
Yeah.
And we blame it on this ADD and all of this stuff. But like, dude, anxiety, you will not be stressed and you will not be anxious if you just get back to your numbers. Like every single time, that has been my fail safe. Whenever I'm starting to feel stressed or whenever I'm starting to question a decision, I take out a sheet of paper and I go to my numbers. And I say, what do the numbers say? Data doesn't lie.
Yep.
So you go to the numbers and you say, okay, if I do this, what do the numbers tell me? If I do this, what do the numbers tell me? So the reason that people can't make a decision is because they don't know their data. So if we were making like a checklist for the guy or girl that's at 6 figures right now, going to 7 figures, that checklist would involve knowing what metrics are important because what gets measured gets managed. I like Hormozy's message, which is one channel, one avatar. Like pick Instagram, pick paid, pick newsletter, pick podcast, pick whatever your customer acquisition source is. One channel, one avatar, one product, all the way to $1 million. Nothing else. And then I would say, being crystal clear about who you serve and how. You know, just those 3 things, knowing your data, one marketing channel, and knowing your avatar, like that gets you to $1 million a year. I've done it twice. From scratch. Scratch is the hardest, dude.
Oh, it's the worst.
Scratch is the hardest.
It's awful.
And you don't realize you're going through the rocky cutscene until you're on the other side of it. And you go, now, and once you do it, you're like, I'm actually glad that I was delusional. Had I not been ignorant to what would be required, I don't know if I would have done it.
I mean, I think about that. I was actually, at the same event the last couple of days, there was a guy I was talking to, and I was like, honestly, like, the thing that I've realized is like with my consulting business at Scale with Pros, like I haven't done the, startup in like years. Like it's been over 5 years since I've started something new. And like everything else that I had been doing was like buying into already existing businesses. But, I wanted to start my consulting business because that's just something that I want to do I get to see at least the next 10 years because it's like what I really enjoy doing. And it becomes like a pillar to serve like the business buying that I'm doing. And, I was talking to this guy and I was just like, man, like, as just the reminder of like how gnarly the, initial ascent is when you're starting something new, I'm like, I don't ever want to do this again. Like, this is ass, honestly. I'm like, I am way more of a fan of like buying into already existing businesses. Again, like I wasn't going to buy a consulting business because I wanted to like build it around my philosophy. So it's like, I have to like create these things. But I guess, what's that thought process too of like, okay, buying something existing versus starting new? Cause like, that is where I'm planting my flag in the ground is like, I never want to start something new again. I don't recommend, starting something new. If someone has the intelligence and like some experience to like buy something.
So the question is buy versus build.
Yeah, buy versus build. That's the question.
Right? So I would say only build if it's something that is a problem that you as the consumer has ran into. Bonus points if it's an expensive problem and you have solved it for yourself personally and now you are just scaling that solution to others.
Yeah.
That is why you build. Action Academy is not something that I could have bought.
Yeah.
I had to go through it. I had to do it. I had to scale it. I had to systematize it.
Yeah.
And then like, that's just what we had to do. And it's something that I will do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So that is when that's a good litmus test to say, number one, is this a problem I've solved myself? And number two, is this a problem that I would enjoy solving for a decade?
Yep.
Build that company from scratch. And I will say this, when it comes, the biggest factor that's the differentiator is debt. Because when you build it properly, most people don't need VC. So you bootstrap it. I bootstrap my company. You bootstrap your company. So I own 100% of that thing. I got no debt. So when I get that cash flow, that $1 million is $1 million.
Yeah.
I'm not paying a DSCR. Like there's no coverage ratio. When to buy. So I think most people, 99% of people should buy a company because I think that is the economic best path. I think it is the single largest transfer of wealth that's about to occur is with baby boomers retiring. And what we saw in 2011 with people buying apartment complexes and building all these millions and millions of dollars of wealth, trillions of dollars, is what we're about to see in the business buying space. And I think that what most people do is they shortchange themselves and they say that all these stories in their head about why they can't be a business owner.
Yeah.
Right. But then I know a lot of business owners now, and I'm like, man, most people in corporate like actually I think could run a successful company better than a lot of the up and down the street folks that I buy from, because they're doing millions of dollars a year off of like napkins and like back of napkin, like paper receipts. And it's insane. Right. So when you buy a business, you're able to just like buy something that's packaged and experience upside and like kind of have a little bit more of a floor. Right. So that's called an asymmetric investment, an asymmetric bet. So an asymmetric bet is where you have an unlimited upside or a significantly larger upside and kind of a floor, a basement that you're not going to fall out the bottom of, right? So it's levered. When you're starting a company, you have all the risk and all the reward, right? But when you're buying a company, when you're building a company, that is, when you're buying a company, it's something that's already been profitable without you for 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
So you're actually mitigating your risk on that.
Yeah.
Big thing I want to talk about on that is when you're buying a company, what people will do to actually, that they think is decreasing risk, but it's actually increasing risk, is that they will buy something sub $1 million. Right. And I think that's why I enjoy like your story, because you buy companies that are like companies that are doing millions of dollars a year. Now, maybe their margins aren't the best, but that's where you come in and you have strength in the game.
Unfair advantage
it's
is
your
like,
unfair advantage
skill to fix versus,
correct.
I wouldn't recommend, like, I don't, like when I'm talking to people, I'm like, don't do that. Like I'm doing that. Don't, because I'm not exchanging to live off the income of that business either.
Correct.
Whereas someone, if that's what they need, it's like that is not the way to go.
And that is your strength.
Yeah.
So what people need to do, and so back to that point though, is people will buy a business. They'll see a business listed for 300,000 versus a business listed for 3 million, and they'll say, I want less risk, therefore I will buy the business for 300,000.
Yeah.
That is a job, my brother and sister.
Yeah.
You are buying a McDonald's job.
Yeah.
Like, and no offense to the business owners at that level.
Yeah. Yeah.
But candidly, if you're running a business at that level, you shouldn't even consider selling. Honestly. But I think most people, if you buy between that $1 to $3 million range, which is you're bringing $100,000 to $300,000 of cash, doesn't have to be your cash. We can talk about that if we want to, but it can be a seller note. It can be capital partners. It can be other people's money. Like you can do this just like you did in real estate. I've funded deals myself. And if you do that, like you can walk in day one with profit.
Yep.
You can walk in day one with something that's packaged. You can walk in day one as a business owner.
Yeah.
And so it's just like really to land the plane there. It's flipping that switch in your brain. If people could just, it's like $1 million switch for people to go from, I'm working this job, I hate my life so much, boo-hoo, to I am getting paid to learn $1 million skill sets on the company's dime. And I'm going to be dangerous because I'm going to take advantage of everything that I'm learning to go apply in my own company one day. And if they just change that thought, then somebody that's feeling like a victim in the cubicle today could be like a freaking victor. And they're like, dude, I can't believe I'm getting paid to learn this stuff. Like, how are you going to show up in that job differently? How are you going to show up in life differently with that mindset? And that's what we help our people do right now. And it's been night and day. Like taking someone that's a CPA and they're like, I'm not a people person. Like, who am I going to be a business owner? And then I'm like, dude, you've ran the books for like a $10 million company. You've done audits for like a $50 million corporation. You've got this, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane.
So I wanna go down the path a little bit on the business buying side of things, and like, because it is like a hot topic. A lot of people talking about it. A lot of people doing it. And like when a lot of people are getting into something, there's a lot of people making like a lot of really bad mistakes. So I just want to let's just like put on the table, like, what are the mistakes that people are making to help them avoid if they're going to be doing, if they're going to buy a business, maybe they have a business and they want to buy something to bring up, to roll up under their current company. What are like some of the biggest mistakes that people are making? In addition to what you said of buying something too small, where it's a couple $100,000 a year. It's not a good thing to buy. Like, it's just waste of time. Unless it's you're buying like their book of business and bringing it up under a company you already own.
Correct.
Like something like that.
Yeah. So we can go toe for toe on this one too. We can go back and forth on this. But I would say that the largest mistake that people make when buying, especially their first small business, is going to be buying a business that's not complementary to their current skill sets. I've got this quote: don't do two new things at once. Do one new, not two new.
Yeah.
So you're already doing the new of buying a business for the first time. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of new, especially if you're going through the SBA process.
Yeah.
And then to go to the closing table, to finish that out and to operate the business, for you to also learn a brand new set of skills that's not natural to you and organic and already built through career capital in your job that you're working today, nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
Right? So for example, you are very operationally minded.
Yeah.
I'm very sales and marketing minded.
Yep.
I am not going to go buy a company that is strong in sales and marketing day one, absolutely terrible in operations.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
Because now I have to go learn how to be a business owner and I need to learn how to be operations, Brian.
Yeah.
That's not me. That's pushing a boulder uphill.
Yeah.
Versus I go buy a business that's operationally humming.
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, we do $2 million a year, organic, word of mouth. I just hang out and just kind of wait for people to come in the door.
Yeah.
I'm like, so you do zero sales and marketing.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going to go in.
Yep.
And then the opposite applies for somebody that is an operations brain versus sales and marketing. So I say, be very conscious of who you are and know what your strengths are. And then and this is a good point, and I want to go back and forth with you on this one. But a good point is in corporate, you are told to work on your weaknesses, to come up to your strengths so you're more well-rounded. But in entrepreneurship and in the real world, you don't work on your weaknesses. You hire your weaknesses, you delegate your weaknesses, you buy your weaknesses.
Yep.
Or you partner with your weaknesses, right? So that's what I would do in a business. And that's the number one thing I see is people that are buying businesses that are just not complementary to their current skill sets.
Yeah.
What's something that you see? We can kind of go back and forth.
Yeah. So I definitely would agree with that of like getting into something and I'm in that same belief of like the what type of business to get into. Like the businesses that I bought into, both of them, as far as like Plant Guy, Perfect Clean, both were great at branding. Both were, good at marketing.
That's why I wanted to throw it to you because you crush it at this.
And it's like, I'm not great at branding. I'm not, I understand the data behind marketing and sales and what must be true to like, make things happen, but I don't get energy from it either. Like when I'm having to work on those problems, it's like my soul slowly is like, dying when I'm having to work on those types of problems where like my soul comes to life like a weirdo when I'm working like ops, people, leadership, company operational strategy, like that stuff's fun, Can
we, I want to come back to this. Hold your thought right there. But what you just said is so important. And it was a realization I had recently, changed my life. Didn't have a conversation with a business coach. Didn't have a conversation with a mentor. I talked to my mom.
Yeah.
Changed my life. I'm so freaking serious. As entrepreneurs, especially in media, we are told to embrace the suck.
Yeah.
Delayed gratification, delayed gratification, delayed gratification. But then what happens as a byproduct of that, as a result of that, is decades of your health is failing, your relationship, a lot of relationships are failing.
Yeah.
You're stressed out and you're anxious all the time because we're said, buying and building businesses is really difficult and you just got to go through the suck of it, right? But what you just said was so important. When you get to scale, you are like, I hate doing these things. They don't give me energy.
Yeah.
I like doing these things. They bring me energy.
Yep.
And nobody talks about the concept of light work versus heavy work.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean hard or easy work.
Yeah.
It's what work can you do that absolutely lights your freaking soul on fire. If you take an artist and you say, don't do anything besides paint on this freaking easel for 20 hours, they'll do it straight.
Yeah.
Take someone that loves Excel and give them a good spreadsheet. Like they love that stuff. It's like breathing to them.
Yeah.
You need to identify what your light work is and what your heavy work is. And anything that feels heavy to you, you need to figure out how to get somebody else that feels light to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was telling my mom, I hate this.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel I'm managing all these people. I'm doing these one-on-ones. I'm tracking their KPIs and the results. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to be really good at this stuff. And as a business owner, that's what I'm told. But it literally, I would rather just go get another job than do this.
Yeah.
This is not fun for me.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, why do you have to be the one to do that?
Yeah. There's always a who.
There's always a who. So the biggest cheat code that business owners have over employees is that you can apply leverage. It's the biggest cheat code. you don't have to be the one that's doing that function.
Yeah.
But in corporate, you're assigned the function.
Yeah.
Right. But now you can be the assigner of the function. So I hate data and spreadsheets and all of that, but I hire the people that love that.
Yep.
So you were talking about the complementary skill sets. Really quickly, I want to come back to another big mistake that I see business buyers make. And then I would like you to do another one if you want. The operating agreement. You're familiar? You're familiar with this one.
Yeah.
The OA, the operating agreement.
Yep.
Your operating agreement should be one of the most icky, kind of awful conversations that you've ever had. And people only talk about the upside. And you can share your story if you want to for people that are unfamiliar. But it's just like when people are partnering on a business, especially their first business, they're just like, it's like two people about to like get it on for the first time.
It's like
a
honeymoon. Excited. I'm
it's
excited.
a honeymoon.
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Oh my God, we're gonna be business owners, dude. Let's buy a Ferrari together.
Yeah.
And you're not thinking about any of the downside risk. But like the operating agreement is not there for all the money you're going to make together. The operating agreement is actually a disagreement. And I learned that from Gary Keller. He says he calls them disagreements because the only time you're going to pull it out is when you disagree or you're trying to get divorced.
Yeah.
And so the operating agreement is for all the things that are going to go wrong.
Yep.
And so every operating, I'll give you credit because your story helped me. Like every time I'm doing an OA, I've got a lawyer on the phone.
Yep.
And we are going through it step by step.
Yep.
And we are talking about just the worst things. And we start the call off with me and my business partners. And I say, hey, this is not going to be fun.
Yep.
It's not going to feel good. And I try to start it like on a positive side and then I end it on a positive side.
Yep.
But in the middle, I'm like, okay, cool. I love you guys. None of this is personal. Get it? Got it? Good. Perfect. So what happens if you disappear and steal all my money? How am I suing you? Like, what am I like? This is how I'm coming for you. Or like, if you do this, like, I'm going to like, here's how the other party can like come and claim action on you.
Yep.
Like what happens if I've got 50% of the company and I disappear overnight?
Yep.
How does that impact the company? How do I get kicked out of the company? What's that process look like?
Yep.
Everyone's just like, oh, we're forming an LLC.
We're just making an LLC. What do you
making
mean?
an LLC, and we've got John on here, Jake on here, and Eric on here. We're just 33.
And we're all gonna work just as hard as each other and do the same amount of work.
Because Eric and John are good guys.
Yeah, they're good guys.
I've known them a year.
Yeah, they've never done anything wrong to me.
Yeah. So, dude, the operating agreement is life.
Yeah. I mean, the operating agreement, you have to address these things of like what happens if someone dies, you know? Just so you know, guys, if it's not outlined, you die and you know, or your business partner dies and they're married, their wife or husband is now your business partner. You're like, what are you going to do with that? You know, are they going to do stuff in the business? Like, you know, it's like you got to think about these things like what happens if someone dies? What happens if what if I get hit by a car and now I'm disabled and I can't work? Like, what happens in the agreement? It's like, I can't do my role anymore. Like, am I just booted out? Like, is there a buyout? Like, obviously I can't fulfill my obligations. Like there's, you know, the thing, disinterest. They just don't want to work anymore. They're like, that's, you know, the story of a previous partner years ago out of one of my businesses. He just didn't want to work anymore. He was like, we were all making good money. So he was just like, kind of like, not working. And it's like, hey man, like we're working over here. What are you doing? And it's like, and if you don't have those things outlined, then it becomes like this whole freaking game to like, you know, fight and all this stuff to get them out. Other things you have to think about is like, how are you going to value the company? You know, it's like if a company's doing under $1 million a year in profit, EBITDA, it's like, you know, are you having written in the agreement like what we're going to co-agree that the company's worth? Something we're now doing is like every year we have our CFO, you know, Ben, we have him establish a valuation of the company based off of comps that we get from bvrresources.com. We subscribe to that to see actual real market comps of companies that are selling. And so he'll take those comps to come up with what the multiples are. And then, you know, we'll come up with like, okay, well, based off of the trailing 12 months, what was the profit or EBITDA multiple of this minus all the debts? That's what the company is valued at. Because that was another thing that years ago we didn't have an established way. And I didn't know this. I just thought like, oh yeah, we'll just have it like appraised. Well, business appraisers appraise a million different ways. There's literally like a million different ways to value a company. And so that was a newer thing that we added into agreements is just like, we're just going to pre-establish this on the operating agreement so that if there is a buy sell conversation, it's not you saying it's worth this, me saying it's worth this. It's like we've co-agreed that it's worth this.
Yeah, it's all up front.
All up front.
All up front.
Yeah.
What else do you see? What is another mistake people make?
So another mistake that I see people make when they're going into businesses is just buying dumb businesses, like just stuff that's like, what are you like? Why? And sorry for anyone that owns these businesses, but it's just like those are just not like the best types of companies to get into. Like first off, like prefacing like what I think a good business is. Like I prefer businesses that are more like needs based. They have the ability to generate recurring revenue. They have or subscription revenue. Like I want to see a business be able to do that, because when you have that, you're just stacking the odds in your favor. It's like, okay, if it's already really hard to like grow a business, like let's at least stack the odds of like putting as much good in front of us to be successful versus like making everything harder than it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if I'm going to be in a boat, like at least give me an engine so I'm not just rowing a boat. Like it's just like the vehicle matters. And so like I would stay away from restaurants. Sorry if your dream is to open a restaurant, like fine if that's your dream, but like not the best type of business.
It's hard, dude. Like, if your passion is not food, I would not open up a bar or restaurant.
No.
Like, it's just like anything F&B is rough.
Yeah. So it's like I would stay away from businesses that are not super essential, that have like high capital expenditures. Like we talked about it, like the plant guy, like that being in that business, I wouldn't buy that business now. But like I bought it not knowing what I didn't know about like the capital expenditures that involved in like it's essentially a manufacturing company. Mm-hmm. Like it's the plant guy, but it's a manufacturing company. Like we're buying tons of product, tons of goods. We're shipping containers from China, which tariffs are 240+% now. So the cost of goods have went up, so there's all of these things that are complicated in that type of business. And so if I could just stack the odds in someone's favor, it's like I would do, high margin businesses that can achieve like a very high profit. Like, and high profit to me is it can at least get 20% net profit or better, like at the minimum. Mm-hmm. If you can get 30% or 40%, like online businesses, you can get that 30, 40, 50% net profit. Mm-hmm. With consulting, with info products, with these education type businesses. But with, service businesses, you could also get really great margins. So like I like service businesses as well. And other businesses I would stay away from are just things that are like really complicated. Like that's like where it's like, okay, how can we, simple skills, right? It's like, how can we just do things that are very simple? Because when you have really complicated businesses, it's harder to find people to do the jobs in the business on top of like working with the customers. I like the cleaning business I'm in because we're cleaning houses. Like we're cleaning houses. Like we're not solving for, SpaceX over here.
We bought 2 companies now, which should close very soon. Probably as soon as I air this, we'll be in possession of it. But yeah, 2 companies that clean kitchen hoods in Kansas City. So it is literally grease from a fry cook.
Yep.
Hood catches it above. It's like the vent that collects all the grease, and it's required by law to clean those hoods.
Or it'll catch on fire at some point.
Or it will catch on fire. So somebody has to clean the hood. I bought the company that cleans the hoods.
Yeah.
And I've got partners that are the ones that are in that thing, operating that thing and growing and scaling it, and they've got the majority equity position. I've got the minority. So to kind of to your point, like you talked a little bit about having like an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, you don't really have that.
Yeah.
You have to just, again, you say yes. Yes takes you to the million. No takes you to 10. Because once you start figuring out what your thing is, then you start saying no to everything that's not in your strike zone.
Yeah.
Right? Because like my unfair advantage, like I'll give you guys the playbook. It is very simple. You need to find what is your one thing that yields everything else. And for me, that's Action Academy. Mm-hmm. Because for me, I say no to a lot of things that would make me millions of dollars because my focus is best served on Action Academy, because it is a niche where every single community and every single mastermind is somebody's 14th side project.
Yeah.
And for me, it's my thing. It's my one thing.
Yeah.
That's what we can make it better. Yep. We can talk to the customers more. We can cater to the customers more. We can get more results better, faster, more strategically because of our focus and our attention. Mm-hmm. And from that point, I have an unlimited amount of deal flow that comes to me from operators that I know, like, and trust.
Yep.
That I know them, they know me from the beginning. I help teach them how to analyze, buy, and negotiate these businesses from the beginning. So there's already criteria that's being established onto like how they're negotiating these businesses and what businesses they're looking for. So by the time I get the business, then I'm like, okay, like I know you, I like you, I trust you. Like I taught you how to send me the financials. So send me the financials in that way. And they do.
Yep.
And a lot of the times, like, dude, I'm not a person like, look, this can come back to bite me maybe in the future. And if so, that's okay. I'm fine with saying this. I am not the person that is going to underwrite a deal 100 different ways. I'm going to underwrite the operator 100 different ways.
Yeah.
Like, give me a solid operator, for example. There's this one deal that I'm about to do with this guy who's an Action Academy member. 6-figure corporate job.
Yeah.
Fired after he came back from paternity leave of his first child being born. Fired. Position gone. Management. So corporate jobs are safe, right? Not anymore. And he's got this newborn. And now he's under contract on this business. And I'm like, I will fund this business just because I know you and I know that you will do what's required to make sure that your child eats.
Yeah.
Take my money.
Yeah.
That's what I look for, dude. I'm doing another company with another guy that him and his wife are about to both leave their jobs.
Yeah.
And I'm buying a company with him. I get another newborn child.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, like, dude, that's what I look for. Like, I guess not necessarily like brand
If
new
you have
children.
a newborn child,
Yeah,
get in
buy
the
box.
deal.
Buy box. But no, in all seriousness, it's like I start with operators and I start with business partners on every single deal that I find. Give me the right people, a decent enough opportunity. That's where I'm investing my money. I'm not the person that's going to go underwrite and be like, well, you know, I underwrote the trailing financials. You know, I really dove into this T12 or I really dove into these P&Ls.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm seeing some discrepancies here, here, and here. That's not me, dude. It's never going to be me. That's okay. I've got people on my team that are like really, really good at that. But for me, it's just like everything's people.
I think the thing is too is like, I mean, because like for me, I'm similar in that way where if I'm investing in the business, I'm not going to be working in it. So it's like I'm betting on the jockey. Like it's like I'm betting on the jockey all day long. It's like I wanna do the, you know, the financial diligence. Like there are certain situations where like I would say no. Like I had these guys that were buying this auto shop. You know, one of them had been in the auto industry for 20 plus years in management. Built, you know, hired techs, fired techs, managed them. Like all like amazing jockey. I was like, I would love to do a deal with this guy. And he's like, you know, I want to bring you in on this deal I'm buying and give you 30% of the deal to have you and your team just like mentor me along and help me grow this thing. And we found that the business had like $900,000 in debt that was going to be carried over to the new owner. And he's like, yeah, I'm just going to assume that debt. And I'm like, that's a bad idea. So like obviously there's like an element to like the good and the bad of like the deal itself, but the jockey, but like in that, I'm like, man, like I was only interested in the deal because the jockey was a great person. And I think, you know, that's where, you know, you can have a lot of success in getting into these deals is the jockey has to be good. Like you can have an okay deal, a good deal, and make it a phenomenal deal if you have the right jockey. But if you have the wrong jockey and the deal is great, they're going to make the deal bad anyway. So it's like you have to have the right jockey.
Yeah. And to go back kind of full circle to like a point that I made there that I don't want people to gloss over, it's just like before, you know, the messaging from the higher ups used to be go get you a safe job. But now we've all seen those 6-figure safe jobs. You are employee number 547 to them or 5,047.
Yeah.
They don't care about you. They don't care about your family. They don't care about anything. So before it was being an entrepreneur is risky. Being an investor is risky. Go get you a safe job. Now I'm like, dude, if you're not an entrepreneur, if you're not an investor, that's risky.
Yeah.
For your only income to be relying on that single source, that corporate job, that's risky. That's something that people should really think about right now.
Absolutely. It's, you know, it's scary. It's just a different world. Like I never went into the workforce, I guess you can call it, for like in the corporate or anything. So I don't have like my own personal experience in it, but you know, just watching, you know, family, friends that, would bank on these jobs. And it's like, it's not the same as it used to be where it's like, okay, you get out of college and you didn't, amass like a ridiculous amount of debt like people do today. And then after that, you could years ago get a job where it's like you could work there for 40 years and work your way up all the way through management and get your gold Rolex when you retire and like your retirement and like pension. And there's a lot of uncertainty in the world of being, just working a job within a company.
Here's an idea. Here's a thought. It is normal for people to invest $30,000 to $100,000 into a 4-year college degree with zero return, zero guaranteed return. But those same people are the ones that won't invest $30,000 to $100,000 into a business where you are like day one cash flowing on that return. Day one, you're having a return. And then also the education that you're going to learn over those 4 years of like running that business is going to get you to be a freaking sophisticated business owner.
I would take it to another step on that too, is like, those are the same people that say that investing in mentors, masterminds, coaches, consultants, like all of those things, those are the same people that are like, that's a waste of money and you're dumb to spend your money on that stuff. And a lot of those things have like guarantees. It's like, your money back within 30 days or your money back within this, like if you don't get the result, but yet people will go take out a loan that they can't even bankrupt out of and go spend 80 grand, 100 grand, 150 grand on their education, and with zero, again, guarantee of like what that actually will do for them.
You better be careful about who you're asking questions to, because if you ask the right question to the wrong person, your dreams and your life will be destroyed. Because how many people are going to their parents that are 3 times divorced and asking for relationship help? And they're going to their professor or they're going to their manager for financial help that is completely drowning in debt.
Yeah.
And those people will tell them things. And then as soon as you go to somebody versus, all of that versus in comparison, going to the person that is doing what you want to do, then it's just like, it's night and day. So the craziest thing that I've experienced throughout this entrepreneurship journey is if you want to be the 1%, you must ignore the advice of the 99. Which is insane to think about. But there's going to be a period of your life where everybody tells you how batshit insane you are for doing what you're doing. And you have to eat that. And it's year 1, they call you crazy. Year 2, they call you lucky. Year 3, they call you for advice. I'm in year 3 right now. It's way more fun. But year 2, dude, friends, family, relationships, and they're all telling you all the reasons that you're going to fail. It's insane. And then you just have to be the only person to believe in yourself. You have to be delusional enough to keep going and like be your own cheerleader. So that's why I'm like kind of closing advice to anyone that's listening to this podcast episode today is it's just like, if I could give one piece of advice to get you to 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures, is if you're not going to believe in yourself, who is? No one's going to come save you. Like you have to be on that ship. You have to be the captain of that ship, and you're freaking Columbus. You're like, this is where we're going. We're heading west.
Yeah.
Like, hop on the ship, baby. And seriously. And people are waiting for other people to come and believe in them.
Dude, it's not a winning strategy as a business owner. You have to be your own number one cheerleader, and it's pain and suffering day after day. It's like you have to have that belief so strong that it's going to work after you just get smacked in the face day after day after day after day after day after day, and still be like, I still believe, like, which it just seems ridiculous at some points to continue believing, but you just have to continue believing.
Yeah, and then at some point, you have to also like alter your beliefs. You have to upgrade your beliefs. I wouldn't say destroy them, but what got you here is not going to get you there, take you there. So it's just, another thing is a piece of advice I got was the biggest mistake a small business owner can make is thinking like a small business owner.
On that, and then I know we'll wrap up here in a minute. So I was at this event the last couple of days. There's a guy there that sold a consulting company for over $100 million in the last like a few months back. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, I'm like, I think pretty big in general. And I was sitting there talking with this guy, and he was and I was just asking him, like, man, like selling your consulting business for over $100 million. And so I was just, I was telling him like, the pricing and stuff that I do. And I was like, what's kind of like, what was the pricing model that you did? And he's like, oh, like my lowest retainer that I would ever even like give to like a junior person on my team was $24,000 a month. And I was like, huh. And I was like, so what was like one of your bigger retainer clients that you had? And he's like, one of our, like a bigger one was like, you know, $1 million a month contract. And I was like, okay, $1 million a month contract. Like what value must you be providing to this company to get them to agree to $1 million a month to pay you? And he was telling me, he's like, you solve bigger problems. And so he's like, the problem he was solving was for a company that was doing $2 billion a year. So it's like $1 million a month is like a rounding error on their P&L.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, like and I thought I was thinking big, and then he just, tells me that. And so I was like, damn.
Dude, the easiest way, like, so I'm trying to think about how I want to phrase this in like a punchy way, and I can't think of it yet, but I'll just say it. You see a lot of people like get too big for their britches, and you start making some money. And for me, I'm a very confident person. But dude, there's never been a day in my life where I'm like thinking that I know it all.
Yeah.
Not a day in my life. And I truly believe anyone that knows me would say the same. And it's because of the rooms that you're in.
Yeah.
So the people become cocky when they're the biggest freaking fish in that tiny little pond.
Yeah.
And when you're doing $1 million or you're doing $100,000 and all your friends are making 50, you're buying tables.
You're balling.
Oh yeah. I remember the back post grad. It's like, the first friend to make $100,000 is like tables on them. Like, oh my God, I can't imagine that. And then, but when you're doing, and that's another big piece of advice. So the biggest mistake to make as a small business owner is to think like a small business owner, which means that a disproportionate amount of your income and your profit should go to getting into the rooms with the larger business owners.
Yeah.
And it's not because you're going to learn any secret tricks or tactics. It's legitimately because you could just see the scale at which things are possible.
Yes, absolutely.
That is period, full stop. That is it. Because when I started doing that, I'm like, oh, like you guys are doing $1 million a month
on one of your contracts.
And I'm struggling to do a few million in a year. Got it. And then it's like you have people doing $1 million a month profit.
Yeah.
People doing $10 million a month profit.
Yeah.
It's insane. So it's just like your job to go get in those rooms because they're not smarter than you.
Yeah.
They just aren't. Like most of them aren't.
Yeah.
Like they just are just thinking bigger.
Yeah. Which is insane.
Absolutely insane. Yeah.
So as we're closing up, Brian, and I appreciate you being on, what final words of whether, encouragement, or maybe there's something, whether you want to share a book that was like one of the game changers that maybe has helped you think bigger and thinking less like a small business owner, whatever you'd want to share, just kind of in closing before we wrap up the episode.
Yeah. 2 books I would share. Number 1 would be The One Thing by Jay Papasan and Gary Keller. Just like keep your one thing, your one thing. Dude, I'm not smarter than anybody. I'm not better than anyone. But I'll tell you one thing that I will toot my own freaking horn at is, and I think other people, and I think even you would agree, there's not many people that I can point to like me that focus on their one thing and keep their one thing their one thing.
Yep. Yeah, no, you're Study Eddie, Action Academy, it's just like,
and it's podcast after podcast, content after content, day after day. I do the stuff and I keep my one thing for years, right? And so that's the book. And then Traction, Gino Wickman, wonderful book.
Beefy one.
EOS. It's just the Bible, man. Like I freaking love Traction. And now like implementing that, and you guys kind of helped us implement something EOS-esque in the business, and it's been freaking amazing, dude. So I would say do that, and then just go get into bigger rooms.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, man, thank you for hopping on, and we got to do this in the flesh, which I don't do very often. So it was great to do it. So,
dude, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, guys, we'll see you in the next episode.
Beautiful.